Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to go over how to remove and replace the fuel tank, both fuel pumps, and the sending unit in a Volvo 240. But before we get into it, I want to thank you for watching, and also want to thank you for subscribing if you're already subscribed, and I also want to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. You can take a look at some of my older videos about this car and learn a little bit about what I've had to do to get it on the road and how we've gotten to this point. I also want to show you guys how I like to modify and enjoy my Volvos. Okay, here we have a brand new fuel tank. I've already removed the old one from my car, and we have a brand new sending unit. For the sake of making a video, I'm going to show you how to remove the sending unit while the tank's out of the car. For me to remove the old tank, I wanted to drain all the fuel first. I tried going in through the filler neck with a siphon, and I was unsuccessful at that, so I had to take the sending unit out and drain it through this hole anyway. So in the trunk of the car there's going to be a small hatch underneath the carpet, and there's two torque screws that hold it down, and this is going to be underneath that hatch. And you're going to have your fuel feed line and your fuel return line connected on here with some hose clamps. They're going to be a little bit hard to get to, but not impossible. Once you get those out of the way, you have to have this lock ring or this bung nut, remove it. They do sell a tool to remove this, but I just removed it with a hammer and a screwdriver. I'll show you. A big screwdriver like this, had to go down in through the hole and tap on these until I was able to turn it and remove the lock ring. I will say that if you're doing this on an old car, you want to clean all the debris from around here before you pull the sending unit out and drop dirt into your gas. But this is a new tank and there's no fuel in it yet. So you're going to remove your lock ring. You want to have your unplug your harness there. And pulling this sending unit up out of here is a little tricky, so that's kind of why I'm making this video. I'm going to pull it straight up out of there. The thing you want to be careful most is these wires. You're going to get it up and past a couple of these little tubes and stuff, and you'll get to about right here and it's going to stop. There's a sock on the bottom of this, and there's a fuel level float or whatever. So to show you here, you want to grab the arm of the float and squeeze it towards the middle of the fuel pump. Do that, and you're going to kind of bring the ass end of the fuel pump out first, and that's going to be the bottom of that sock. You can kind of fold it over a little bit and get that part out of there, and then you can get the ball and the rest of the sock out. This is real tricky to do, and you don't want to break either of these parts off, so you just kind of want to squeeze that together and roll it up out of there. So this is already a brand new sending unit, new sock, fuel pump. The one mistake I made when I installed this, because this was already installed in the car in my old tank, and we picked up a lot of debris and stuff out of the old tank, so we're replacing the tank. We're going to be replacing the inline fuel pump, which is the one that went bad. And that one looks like this. So this one goes underneath the car. When I bought this sending unit online, it came with the fuel pump, but it didn't come with this piece of hose. And I made the mistake of using a regular rubber piece of hose, even though I read online that you weren't supposed to. And the original piece of hose I cut was this size, and it expanded this much just from being in the gas tank for about a month. So now I have a correct piece of submersible fuel line, and I have it installed on there. This is all ready to get put back in the car. Your filler neck is going to be held on by some kind of weird clamshell looking hose clamp, in which case the one on my car was really rusty and it broke off. But just the part with the nut and the bolt broke off. I was going to weld a nut and a bolt back onto it, and then I just found a hose clamp that was big enough to wrap around the whole thing and squeeze it back on there. So we'll see if that holds on there. It's pretty tight, but I have to order a new one. I would recommend, if you're going to do this gas tank, to order one of these filler neck clamps. I'm not sure what it's called, but mine was rusty and it broke. Reinstalling the lock ring. Tab right here that you want to run it all the way up against the stop that's on the tank. It's pretty small. It's this tab right here, and it runs into this edge of the tank. Okay, I've got my gas tank installed, and this is what it's going to look like from inside the trunk. This would be the little porthole that you'd work on the sending unit through, and those are the feed and return lines that need reconnected. We're going to do that in a second. So whenever you're installing the tank, you're going to have to feed the filler neck up through this hole here and into this hole here. It's a lot easier with two people, but I did it by myself. What I did, because I was by myself, is reach my hand down through the porthole and grabbed the hold of the gas tank and maneuvered it until I got this through this hole while I was sitting inside the trunk. That was the only way I could do it by myself, and I had a jack supporting the tank from underneath. So I pulled it up through there, and once you get the filler neck hooked in there, the tank really can't fall out as long as it's empty. Obviously, if you have fuel in the tank, you're going to want to empty it out because it's much easier with an empty tank. I wouldn't even attempt it if there was fuel in the tank. So we've got it installed here. I'm going to connect up these lines and try to fire this car up. Okay, so we're underneath the car here on the driver's side, rear passenger, or rear tire, and we have the fuel carriage. This is going to hold your inline fuel pump and your fuel filter. You have to take this thing down to change the fuel filter or the fuel pump. There's two 12mm bolts and an 11mm bolt here, and then it'll come down and you'll be able to remove the fuel lines from the front and the back. Okay, this thing's gonna come down like this. Let's see if we get some little view of this here. Alright, so there's your inline fuel pump and your fuel filter. I'll get some wrenches and take these nuts off of here. There's copper crush washers you have to replace every time you put it on and off. One on the front here and one on the back there. We'll remove that and then continue. Alright, here's my fuel carriage removed from the car. Straining out of the bottom of the filter there. You're going to want to have a pan. I'm going to take the nut and the washers off of this side and remove it from the pump on that side and replace my fuel pump here. And this is a brand new fuel filter, so I shouldn't have to replace that. But I'm going to check it and see how much dirt's in that end. Okay, the tank is mounted and it's looking all good and shiny up in there with the new muffler and the shiny tank. Even though that doesn't make a difference because nobody sees underneath the fucking car. Bonus footage. This thing gave me so much fucking trouble. I'm gonna open it up. I gotta see what's inside here. It's way thicker than I thought. Way thicker. Much so I can dirt in there. How not to cut a gas tank in half. That'll be enough. Where's the gas tank looks like? Well, folks, this used to be a 240 gas tank, and I opened it up with yonder axe because tin snips were just taking a little bit too long. And we can see the problem is all that motherfucking shit. It is not beneficial to the fuel injection system. So, I got even with this tank. Later, dude.